Hi, welcome to our podcast. We're from Impact Planning Group. I'm Mary Abazia, and Tom Spitali and Sean Wellham are with me. And in this season, we're talking about cases, and we look at real life. And there's so many lessons to learn that we've picked our favorites. And today we're going to talk about Tesla. And the reason is it's such a great live pricing case. I mean, we examine pricing on pretty much everything, but to see this in action is pretty exciting. As the electric vehicles EV market is evolving, and Tesla is one of the key players, it is interesting to see that Tesla has dropped their price not once but twice now in the last couple of months. In January they dropped, and then again just recently. And in effect, what they've done is drop prices by over 20%. Okay, that's a lot when you're talking about a lot of money for a car, because they're premium price. So, for example, last year's Model X, because they have S and then it looks like a 3, but it's really an E, X, Y. So they have Sexy is their product line, of which X is one of them. And it was $120,000, and now it's really affordable. It's 94,990. So it's you save $26,000 by buying this car. And then the least expensive one is Model 3, which is really E, and that's 46,000, and now it can be now it's 41,000. So you can see that they're doing something with their pricing. And so my question always is why, and why now? And so I'm going to open this up to Sean. What do you think they're doing? What's going on?
I have to be disciplined. There's so much I can talk. Tesla's one of the most fascinating case studies from lots of different directions, specifically pricing. And I'm going to tell myself to stay on task and just talk about the issue. Let me just do a baseline first, which is Tesla is a company that was valued just a year or so ago at $1.2 trillion. It was worth more than pretty much the rest of the automotive sector put together. It became the most valuable car manufacturer. And then once it had achieved that status, that the absolute status of being the most valuable, we had to have relative status. It's worth more than the next two. It's more than the top 5. Now, then it was worth more than the entire industry. It's come back since then, dropped by 60-odd%. And it had another recent price correction this year. Early this year, its stock price dropped about 12%, which incidentally was still the value of a Ford. Right? They lost the equivalent market value of Ford based on what you're talking about, Mary, which is this pricing thing. And the sentiment of the market is, do we treat Tesla like a tech stock, which the multiples would suggest, or do we treat it like a more of an old-fashioned metal bashing car manufacturer, which is sort of where it might be leading to, albeit a very profitable one. So the baseline is this: they're a business that sells 1.3 million cars a year. They've had some issues recently where supply and demand has been getting a little bit out of whack. The demand has been softening, competition's increasing. And as a consequence, their pricing move is a strategic move. And the question I guess we can kick around is, what are they looking to achieve with that pricing move? Is it margin maximization? Is it to maximize the capacity of the factory? Is it a barrier to entry? And I guess that's where we should maybe pick one of those to dig in a little deeper.
Was one of those demand, Sean, to stimulate demand? Would you say one of those reasons?
Yeah, absolutely, to stimulate demand for their product.
Yeah. The reason I'd love to debate these. The reason I think that it wasn't necessarily to stimulate demand is, why would they lower the price on the high end? Which model was that, Mary? The X, the one that went from 120 to 90 something.
Yeah, that was the X. Their most expensive actually is it's Model X Plaid, which is 104, which was 138 before. So yeah.
Yeah, because I just think, I know that Elon Musk has always wanted to create a Tesla for the masses, right? And so that makes sense that he's trying to do some things on the lower end of the model range. But we as a company work primarily with premium priced products, or at least a lot with premium priced products in the marketplace. Our clients tend to be on the upper end of the price scale. And we know that people that are buying premium products are way less price sensitive than people that are on a budget. So I am discounting a bit that the reasons for the price cut was to stimulate demand, because I think we would have seen a lot less aggressive activity on the upper end to sort of kind of make up for what they probably necessarily had to do on the lower end. What do you guys think about that?
I think there's got to be a consequence for demand. There's always a price response curve, and classically, you drop price, you're going to sell more of the product, everything else being held constant. So there will be, whether that was the motivation or the consequence for it. I think the idea that the price drop has to be seen in I guess two contexts. One is they're massively profitable compared to a typical auto sector. They make margins of I think it's 28% gross margin, which is about 19 points higher than Ford, about 13 points higher than Toyota. These are big fat margins. Gives you a lot of latitude when it comes to your pricing, because you only need to know two things to establish a target price, which is the price response curve, how sensitive your market is to that price, and your contribution margin, which is kind of related to gross margins. It tends to be a little bit bigger, but let's not get into technical accounting terms. If you know those two things, you can set a price to maximize capacity if they have a capacity issue at the factory, or to maximize contribution by understanding how the volume will change. So it will definitely have a consequence, but whether that was the motivation is, I guess, the question that we don't know, and how much of it was forced upon them versus a sort of a voluntary move, an aggressive move.
I think there was a confluence of events. You know, they're humming along, and there's a supply shortage for a while because of the chips, and you know, just what had happened recently, you know, coming out of the pandemic sort of. So they had the supply force, and then they had the competition coming in, because everyone, you know, it's really heating up now. So they're looking at that. And then they had this kind of image problem, or at least Elon Musk had an image problem, you know, with the whole Twitter fiasco. And I felt like if you see those three factors, and then I like what you said, Sean, you do the math on it, you know, where you look at the response curves and what we're trying to maximize, whether it's volume or margins. I think they looked at it and said, yeah, we have to do this. And as you said, they had a lot more flexibility or latitude to be able to drop that price pretty significant. I mean, if you're going to do it, don't do a little bit. And I feel like it just smacked Ford right between the eyes, because Ford had to respond and they had to lower their prices. So poor Ford, here they are, they're planning to bring out their products. And it's expensive, so they're probably not making a profit for a little while. And then here comes Musk, he drops the price down. So, you know, Ford has to drop their price down. And so all of a sudden now it's going to take a lot longer to pay out on those investments that they're making. So I just think that the game has really started, and he knew when to punch, basically.
I think that's probably true, that he's that pioneer. You know, he's changed a lot of things, but not least of which making the electric vehicles somewhat sexy and cool and desirable, where they was seen previously as a step down from an internal combustion engine and maybe a necessity, but not very exciting. He changed that. And the technology that goes into them is also a big aspect that Tesla brought to it. Another thing that's changed, though, is in the car business. And as you guys know, I spent a lot of time working in the auto industry when I lived and worked in the US. And there was some things that were just sacrosanct. They were never changed. And one of those things was discounting the headline price of your car. Manufacturers just would never do it. If they wanted to stimulate demand, what they would do is they would allocate a lump of money, say $3,000 per car. They would give that to the finance company. As you know, I worked in a bank that did joint ventures with automakers. They would give us the money, so we would enhance the residual value for a lease. So if we thought that car would be worth 15 grand in 3 years, they would give us money to say, call it 18 grand. So they're taking money off the top of the deal to support the future price, but they're still showing the retail sticker to the customers not moving. And Tesla's changed all that. And that's really going to shake the market up, because people are not used in the car industry to headline discounts. They're used to support money, what they call trunk money, money that's just given with the car. That's how they've done it forever. And now they're being forced into this pretty crude, but more honest, straight discounting. I'm knocking some price off for you guys.
Well, Sean, one of the things, they sell direct. So I wonder if that factored into their ability to, I mean, no one else sells direct. They all go through dealers. So I wonder if that factors into the way that the game got played there.
Absolutely did. That, and they're less dependent on the leasing companies. Don't forget, Ford have Ford Motor Credit, GM have GMAC. You know, all these in-house funding arms are such a huge part of marketing mass-produced cars. Residual values aren't such a big deal for Tesla. So they can play, I won't say fast and loose. That's how it appears to the rest of the industry. These new kids on the block, they've shaken up production, technology, electric vehicles, and now they're shaking up the fundamentals of how cars are valued and financed. And they got the fat on their bones to do it with those massive gross margins. It's a really interesting time.
I love the pioneering spirit and the willingness to shake up the industry. As a marketer, what I'm going to be fascinated to watch is, as we all know, price is a huge part of brand, and Tesla has been kind of like the premium priced, top of the line electric vehicle. And if it's now not the most expensive one, does that cause confusion in the marketplace? And do people wonder really what the brand stands for? And I still go back to this idea of the high end, and why would they, so drastically reduce the high end? I mean, frankly, a lot of people, it's a point of pride how much they paid for their car. So it seems to me that they're taking some money, they're leaving some money on the table unnecessarily. And I think Wall Street has punished them a bit for that. I think that's probably part of the reason behind it. But I also hate to sound like, I'm sticking to these, old school principles, Sean, when you talk about this idea, this innovative idea of taking money, would you say call them taking money off the top, or however you characterize it? I love it. I love when people do that kind of thing and show that they're willing to break the bounds of what's been done in their industry in the past. So I'm just I don't know where this is going to go, but it's sure going to be fascinating to watch it.
Well, you've got some, think about that, the brand, right? It's particularly in cars, brand and cars and the price you pay for a car are all linked, as you said, that they're a part of the brand is the price that you pay. And they need to be careful, because are they a luxury brand, high-tech brand? Other brands are coming in. BMW 5 Series is going all electric. My uncle rocked up at a family do this weekend in a Jaguar, all electric. All of the premium brands out there have got these all electric vehicles, and in many cases they're being forced to by legislation. So how much will Jaguar and Porsche and Bentley and others, how much will their premium carry through into EV and start to erode Tesla's first mover position? Is discounting undermining some of their brand power? Is the Elon Musk association, he's a very controversial figure. He divides opinion. His association with Tesla will, to some, enhance the brand, to others will tarnish the brand. And if you do segmentation, I would imagine, I've not done the exercise, a lot of Tesla buyers are going to be more of the left-leaning, liberal, progressive types, you would imagine. And if that's the case, they're going to react less good to the Elon Musk Twitter persona that comes into the. I think that whole area, how it's going to play out, Tom, I don't know, but I think that is the crux of the whole thing: is what is Tesla's brand and how will it survive this increased competition, reduced prices, and so forth this coming few years.
Yeah, it is interesting when we look at other product lines. Typically, if you're going to go real low end, you give it a different brand, and the name is somewhat hidden. Or in Toyota and Lexus case, you go high end, you give it a different name, but you somehow, like Tom's saying, you divide it. I remember when Mercedes brought out a very low end and it felt like a tin can, and they got rid of that model finally because it was not doing their brand any good. So I love the question you said, Tom, about why are they reducing prices on all of their brands and not just, either coming up with an affordable brand or a platform for affordable.
Yeah. Why does just to take it into like a little bit of a different industry for a second, what happens every time Walmart tries to go upscale in their merchandise line? Failure. Brand does make a difference, and we as human beings simplify brands and associate brands with a few words, maybe even subconsciously, we don't even think about it, but if forced to, we can spout out a few words that signifies every brand, every successful brand, very succinctly and specifically. And when brands become confused in our brains, it is not a good thing. We're overwhelmed. It's just getting more, worse over time. The bombardment that we have with advertising and marketing, you've got to be very specific with your brand. And I just wonder if Tesla is confusing the issue to their own detriment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where they go. We talk about, we teach pricing all the time. And one of the things that we often say is, you can be a market leader, but that doesn't mean you're a price leader. A market leader has the most share, which Tesla does. But a price leader is when you change your price, does somebody follow you? And right now, Tesla has the ability. But my guess, if I had to, put money on it over the next year, is China has their product coming out, and they could shake up the market even more than what Tesla is right now, and really change the pricing structure, and they would become the pricing leaders then. So we'll have to see what happens.
Interesting times.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you, especially where this case is evolving, you take a few things from it and apply it to your business, or at least think about what you should be doing with your pricing. And especially when it comes to thinking about as Sean said, the demand curve, how much price sensitivity or elasticity is in your market, and what it was before might be different in this new era, as we're changing our economic times. So good luck and thank you.
Thank you.